long time ago, I basically gave up all of my hobbies, whether it was for one reason or another. A lot of these reasons had to do because I didn't grow up in the best situation, right? I didn't have the money to continue doing a lot of my basic hobbies because as I grew up or got larger, it became harder and harder to continue to do them. So one of these hobbies was skateboarding. I used to skateboard all the time. I didn't have internet. I didn't have a way to learn tricks or something like that. I had me, myself, and a skateboard, and I go out every single day and taught myself how to skate from scratch. And the reason that I gave up skateboarding originally was because I outgrew my skateboard. It might sound a little ridiculous. How do you outgrow a skateboard? But the one I had was for kids, and I kind of hit this massive growth spurt at one point where I grew like 2 feet in like a year. Like it was insane. But that was one of the things that I gave up because I didn't have the money to keep skateboarding. And the same thing with playing guitar or playing violin or playing piano is three things that I loved doing growing up, but I just gave them up. And I never really understood why until I was kind of reevaluating who I am the other day. I think about that a lot. Like, who am I? Who is it that I overall want to be? Who is it that I'm not allowing myself to be? And I noticed a lot with that. Most of the things that I actually enjoy, I still enjoy to this day, I just randomly gave up on for almost no reason outside of either money or because I just didn't want to be selfish. And that might sound crazy. That's what kids are meant to be. That's what they're meant to do is almost be selfish and to desire things and to gain things. But for me, at a very, very young age, I kind of developed this emotional intelligence. Not like incredibly emotional intelligence, but I I kind of developed very, very early on and realized that I I can't be that person. I can't be the person who begs for things when, especially when I know we don't have the money, and especially when I would notice other people do the same thing, uh, and make it where someone would become underprivileged or someone would lose out because of the begging. And I'll say, like, luckily growing up, my dad tried very, very hard to give us everything possible, but unlike a lot of the people that I grew up around, I noticed the small things. In comparison, I noticed the small things. I noticed when we couldn't afford to go get groceries. I noticed when we couldn't afford Christmas presents. I noticed when we couldn't afford birthday presents. I noticed when we couldn't go on trips and things like that. And I think that turned me away from a lot of my hobbies because I basically decided to make myself the sacrificial pawn to allow people to keep living, you know? And now, if I talk to my dad about these things, he will always say, I never had to do those things. And that's 100% true. He would have figured out some sort of magical way to get me a new skateboard or to get me a new guitar or something like that. But I didn't want that to be a thing because I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that feeling that someone's going to have to go without in order to do that. Like I remember, um, growing up, and we, like I said, we were very underprivileged. But I remember like the times of my brother just getting e- everything he wanted. Now he would say the complete opposite for me. He Obviously people have different perspectives of growing up, but to me, almost all of my hobbies I gave up because I remember like my brother almost like kind of begging for the things for his hobbies. And our dad he'd always do it. He'd always find a way. He'd always figure out something to make sure you were satisfied at the end of the day. whether that meant he didn't eat, or we went out with less, or something of that sort. And I think that's one of the big reasons why I secluded myself into video games at one point, is because video games was probably the easiest hobby to be into. When you are dirt poor, it is the easiest hobby. Because if you get an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever at any point in time, and you can find a singular game that you just love playing, then you don't need anybody to buy you anything else. So, like, I remember my mom, like way back, for like the Xbox 360, bought me my own Xbox 360, but I had no games for it. We didn't even have internet at my house, so it's not like even if I did get a game, I could really play most of the games for the Xbox 360. But eventually, I was able to find like a dollar store game, and I played that all of the time. Or when Black Ops 2, I went to the store and I found Black Ops 2 on disc for like $5. And I was like, wow, I actually found it for cheap. I can play this for once. And I remember, like, I played that for so long until I upgraded consoles to the Xbox One. And that was like my dad got a bonus, from work, and he spent it all almost on my birthday and my brother's birthday. And then from that point, like I said, I knew I couldn't be getting stuff all the time. So my friends actually gave me money for my birthday, and I remember I bought Elder Scrolls Online, and I played that game every single day for almost, I would say, 5 years straight. Didn't get a singular another game. Didn't didn't play another game. Didn't look at another game. Didn't even raise another game until basically like Overwatch 1 came out, and then that was something completely different. I put that on like pre order. But I just noticed that with growing up in this way, like I gave up so many of my hobbies, so many of the things that I love doing, so many of the things that kind of made me my personality. And I noticed that that kind of uh, it just destroyed who I was. I have these pictures from when I was a kid, that I might post on here at some point. But I have these pictures from when I was a kid where I had this button up hoodie, or not hoodie. It was a button up, like polo, that had this like massive flaming skull on the front of it, and I wore it almost every single day with like a pair of skinny jeans, and I would go out and I would skateboard. I would skateboard my entire county I lived in, because the county I lived in was like 10 miles by 10 miles, and I would skate from one side to the other almost every single day until one day I just didn't. And I think that's something that kind of sucks. I think giving up a lot of your hobbies and things of that sort is something that just destroys your personality. It makes you bland. It makes you almost the same picture on the wall over and over and over again until you no longer are unique, or no longer your own person, or something of that sort. So you might be asking why I'm talking about this today, right? A little bit of a rant there at the beginning. I mean, 9 minutes of a rant is kind of crazy. But a big reason I'm talking about this is because I am rediscovering a lot of my hobbies right now. And a lot of that includes fashion, because I actually do like dressing up and looking nice, and not just, wearing like sweats or something like that. Another part of that is I'm going to reteach myself how to skateboard from scratch. I'm going to try not to watch YouTube videos. I'm going to try not to really do anything unless like I'm really struggling on something. But in general, like I know I was decent before. I want to reteach myself from scratch how to do it properly. I'm also thinking about, maybe leaving for a while. Not leaving YouTube, not leaving the internet, but leaving this place. going beyond it, going on like a trip around the country, maybe around the world for a period of time. And people will say, well, how do you get the money for that? Because I'm still not the best financially. And frankly, I think all the money I was thinking about saving to basically get a new place, get a new car, get like all this new stuff, I think we're just going to use it to that instead, to just travel. Because I genuinely think that that is going to fill my soul. It like actually just rediscovering who I am. And I don't think it's ever too late in life to rediscover who you are. There's some people who wait until they're 80 years old. There's some people who wait until they're 60. There's some people who wait until they're 40. And some people are just able to do it when they're younger. But doing it younger, in my opinion, is the better way. Because now, if I go out and I do it, yeah, maybe I'm not going to be ultra rich or anything like that while going to these places, but I'll have to be extremely smart, right, to know my own survival. But I'm also going to have to be very humble because I'm not going to really have anything besides the minuscule things that I'm kind of thinking about bringing. And this isn't going to happen tomorrow or something of that sort. It, but it's just an itch that I have. In It's an itch that I think I've had for a long time, but this is the first time in my life I've actually just sat and thought about it for days. And that's why a lot of my uploads have been a little bit strange because, like, sometimes I get into these ruts where when I start thinking about life and how I want to change it, it makes it where I don't want to be around anyone. It makes it where I don't want to be on the internet. It makes it where I don't want to talk to anybody. And there's just like that level that I have been thinking about it a lot. I know this was a little bit of a rant today and everything, but I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit, because it's hard to talk to people about this that have responsibilities. And I think that's something I'm very blessed for is like I don't have any responsibilities outside of basic bills essentially, right? But like I don't have a kid, I don't have a significant other, I don't have anything to look after, I don't have a pet or something. It's like I can just go and be free. Yeah. Finish off this video. This is my skateboard. I bought it the other day. It is not the best brand. I also need to replace the wheels because I don't like these wheels, but it's a cool little design. Um, I know that there's more local stuff and stuff like that. We'll change that out a little bit later, but it'll be great to train on, and actually learn the basics again. And then once I do that, we'll go to a skate shop and build one ourselves and probably do a whole video on building a skateboard ourselves. But thank you guys for watching. Remember, it's never too late in life to rediscover who you are. Have a good night. Peace.